Hey everyone, Tim with Collect Jurassic. We're here with another news update covering tons of new Jurassic World Dominion toys. We're talking about Wave 2 toys from Mattel. After the spring push, they have a bunch of new figures coming out for early summer, particularly June. We're calling it Wave 2. We've already done one video about it. This is part 2. Because we really couldn't fit it all in one video, so we have even more to cover today. Playsets, huge figures, all kinds of stuff. We're going to go ahead and get started with some of the other assortments outside the core line. First off, it's the 12-inch figures. 12-inch figures that we've gotten so far for Dominion are Pteranodon, Atrociraptor Ghost, and Pyroraptor. And now we're getting another Atrociraptor figure, which is cool because I think Atrociraptors are going to have a pretty big part in Jurassic World Dominion, which is why we're getting so many different toys of them. And they all have names. There's Ghost, Red, Tiger, and I think the other one's Pantera, maybe? I don't know. But this is Red, so we've already gotten Ghost, and it looks like it's basically just the same figure with a different paint job, which, you know, on one hand is okay because that original figure had so much detail. I did a review on it. Really impressed with the amount of detail they were able to pack into this budget figure, and they're just reusing it again to make Red. So, luckily, each of the Raptors has such a distinct paint job, and Mattel has done such a good job kind of bringing that paint application from the film into the figures that this is basically a spitting image of Red, and it looks pretty faithful to the movie. Granted, it's going to have the same exact sculpt as Ghost. It's going to be a nice figure when it comes out, and I'm sure there'll be other 12-inch figures alongside of it. Next up, we have Uncaged. The smallest Uncaged assortment, of course, is the Wild Pop-Ups. These are basically replacing Snap Squad, which is a little, that's a bummer because I loved Snap Squad. They were fun to collect, and I would have just kept collecting them. I don't think they needed to outright replace them, but certainly looks like Wild Pop-Ups are acting as a replacement for that assortment entirely based on the fact that we haven't gotten any new Snap Squads this year, and that Snap Squad is expanding so much past the first 4 figures that already came out this spring. Of course, those expansion includes Moros Intrepidus, Pyroraptor, and Ceratosaurus. You can see here all 3 species we never got with Snap Squad, so that's at least interesting, right? I love Ceratosaurus with the big horn. Definitely has that design from the film and shows kind of down pat. Moros is interesting because it reminds us of the Mattel basic action figure that looks nothing like the film design. And coming up, we also have Pyroraptor, we have Allosaurus. I believe that's Pyroraptor on the left as well, too. So Pyroraptor Ghost and maybe Pyroraptor Red, as well as Allosaurus with those Battle at Big Rock colors. And then we also have Giganotosaurus and Therizinosaurus, which is no surprise. Those are huge species in Dominion coming up. So all those kind of key film species and a couple other popular Jurassic World Dominion species are getting the Wild Pop-Up treatment. And these Wild Pop-Ups literally pop up, their eyes close, and they pop up off their legs. So a little bit different mechanic. Switching back over to more Uncaged, we have the Click Tracker assortment, which I've really been meaning to do a review on the channel here of these because they're interesting figures for sure. I bought the first 4, and there's no doubt I'll get these next 2 that we'll cover here in the video. But we already had 2 Pyroraptors from that line. They're giving us the remaining 2. Ghost is the first one up here. I think Ghost is probably the most recognizable Pyroraptor at this point. It certainly is getting the most toys made. It's kind of like the Atrociraptor pack's answer to Velociraptor Blue. Kind of having that sort of, very recognizable visual look, and also the name, of course. So we're getting Click Tracker Ghost. We're also getting another Click Tracker Atrociraptor, and that would be, I think this is Tiger. So that will kind of close out the Click Tracker Atrociraptor pack with the release of these 2 figures. Again, I've been meaning to do a review to kind of give an idea of how these toys work. They're actually pretty fun. They're a little pricey at $15, but basically once you get batteries inside of them, you can use the little click remote with them, and they spin and attack, and they make all kinds of noises and stuff, and they work pretty well. And I think they're probably a great toy for younger kids. Maybe for us older collectors, a little bit of it is lost on us, but they're still kind of fun. Again, a little pricey though. I think if these things were less than $10, they'd be a little bit more attractive, but at $15 with having to buy your own batteries, it's a little steep. But those are the Click Trackers. Then rounding out the Uncaged assortment, we also have the Rowdy Roars, which are also getting more Atrociraptors. So the first Rowdy Roar wave had Blue, and Dilophosaurus. Again, figures I've been meaning to review so I can show them all to you, how they work and kind of how their interactive electronic features work, because they actually are probably some of my favorite Uncaged figures, counting the wild pop-ups and the click trackers we just covered. The Rowdy Roars are a lot of fun. They have this fun little kind of dual feature interactivity where you touch the tip of their nose and they kind of like open their eyes and bite and snap, which is kind of cool. And that's probably my favorite interactive feature about them, is that sort of eye opening and closing thing. But you can also pet their chin and then they kind of amble forward. Depending on what kind of surface you have them on, they actually work really well moving forward, which is kind of fun. They have a walking mechanism too. So we're getting a Pyroraptor Ghost. No Pyroraptors in this assortment yet, but we're getting Ghost right off the bat. To join Blue and Dilophosaurus, and the figure looks great. It's got a lot of nice detail. Obviously, it's a stylized version of the movie design, but you can definitely tell this is a Pyroraptor Ghost because of those kind of that striking white base coat with the stripes on top of it. But besides Ghost, we're also getting a Pyroraptor Tiger, which looks awesome. I love the paint coloration on the Rowdy Roars in particular versus some of the other action figures. I think here on this one, the orange just looks really, really vibrant, really, really pops off the figure. So, of course, it'll have all the same action features I just covered for Rowdy Roars. So, next wave of Uncaged Rowdy Roars gets 2 new Raptors. I'm hoping this assortment just keeps going and we get more species from Jurassic World. I'd love to get T-Rex more than anything. So, we'll see how that goes. But finally, last kind of stylized figure we'll cover for Uncaged is this Ultimate Pyroraptor, as it's called. This is a big feature toy from Mattel for this summer, so expect to see a lot of promotion around it. It's a little bit bigger than Uncaged, a little bit more pricey, but it does have more interactive features, which kind of hopefully earn the bigger price point. Pyroraptor, of course, is one of the big new Jurassic World Dominion species. So it's getting this fun new interactive toy around it where you can see obviously the feathers and all that stuff, but has some really cool features where it's going to kind of bite and move and, kind of react depending on how you touch it. It looks like the eyes even change colors depending on kind of what interactive feature you do with it. But it is a really nice kind of visual representation of the feathered dinosaur from the film. We got all the feathers and coloring kind of matched on here. Here you can see the eyes changing color. So it looks like it has sort of like a angry red-eyed mode in addition to the yellow eyes. So we'll have to see once we see this video of this thing in action how it exactly works. But it does look like it has a little bit more of a range of motion than the Rowdy Roars. As you can see here, it's actually bending down and biting. So more to come on the Ultimate Pyroraptor. But again, we'll expect to see a lot more of this one. Switching gears to the mini line. Of course, if you've watched my channel, you know that I love the new Jurassic World Dominion minis. They are so cool. So I'm thrilled to see this assortment is expanding with more of these multi-figure packs. The multi-figure packs in question are the ones that come like in the little truck packaging and there's like a mystery human inside. So that's what these will be. They'll have like some of that more unique on-shelf packaging, and we're getting some really cool characters and dinosaurs that we haven't gotten before. Of course, we have the Kayla set that comes with her airplane from the trailer, Quetzalcoatlus, which we already have, but also Pyroraptor in a paint scheme we haven't received yet, and a Raptor in a paint scheme we haven't received yet, and all new mini Pyroraptor, which looks awesome. I mean, look at that thing. Spitting image of Pyroraptor in the miniature scale. Cannot wait to grab that one, but getting Kayla in the airplane is definitely an added bonus as well. Next up in the multi-figure assortment, we have Tyrannosaurus Rex, Dimetrodon, and I think that's got to be Alan Grant. I can't be 100% sure, but I'm guessing that's what it is. But again, Dimetrodon is an all-new figure for the mini line, so that's exciting. And being a huge Alan Grant fan myself, I'm very excited to get the miniature figure of him in this assortment. And then finally, the final multi-figure pack is Giganotosaurus versus Therizinosaurus. No human figures, at least in this promotional photo, but definitely hinting at these two species dueling toward the end of Dominion, which we've heard some rumblings about. Next up for the minis, this one's also very exciting. This is an advent calendar, which is something I've been hoping for from Jurassic World in the past few years, as we've seen more toy brands kind of engage this around the holidays, having a mystery box full of different figures you can open on every day leading up to the holidays. And now finally Mattel's joining the fold with the minis line, and it's literally the perfect match because the minis are so small. It just makes sense from a price standpoint that they're doing an advent calendar with those figures. And what you get in this box is nothing short of amazing. Of course, you're going to get plenty of dinosaurs, but also this awesome paddock that's built out of multiple fence pieces, as well as a gate. It looks like the Jurassic Park gate, honestly. I can't read if it's Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, but it certainly looks like the Jurassic Park gate, which is just fine with me. You can see here we're getting some all new figures. We're getting Ankylosaurus, Dilophosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Ceratosaurus, Suchomimus. So a bunch of new miniature figures that we haven't received elsewhere, and also a human figure that I don't recognize either. So possibly a new human figure too. So basically every day of this advent calendar, you're picking out a different piece from what you see here. I think it's 24 days altogether. So you get a bunch of, little miniature surprises that kind of in total add up to what you see here on screen. So lots of awesome stuff here. Definitely tracking this one down. I think this one's going to be very popular for collectors as well because it's just kind of a fun format with some great included figures as well. Another minis release I want to cover is this battle arena that's heavily inspired by a scene in the movie, which, I don't want to spoil too much, but definitely something happens in Malta with dinosaurs battling. So we get the miniature playset to sort of call back to that. And this one, I'm assuming it comes with these figures. So we're getting a Suchomimus here as well as another Parasaurolophus. And it looks like Uncaged and Baryonyx. And maybe, is that Lystros? I can't be sure. But they have like this little battle arena that you can fire them on discs. The same sort of disc launching system we've seen on the other minis playsets is present here. And you can literally fire them at each other. Very Hasbro Brawlosaurus for you longtime collectors. Reminds me a lot of that. Just way, way better with way cooler figures. Again, I love these minis. So anything they do with them, is going to be an instant buy for me. And it also looks like it connects to the other playsets too, which is an added bonus. So that's it for minis. Let's head to the main line. My last video, I talked a little bit about Giganotosaurus, but we only had a few photos to cover for that part one. So here in part two, we have even more official photos of Giganotosaurus, the Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus in particular. This one scales with the rest of the line at 3 3/4 inches, meaning the human figures you've collected, the dinosaur figures you've collected, they'll all be appropriately scaled for this bigger Giganotosaurus. And what it has is a very unique, a somewhat controversial action feature because it's so extreme. You basically press this button on its tail and it thrashes back and forth. So you can see it has a big midline seam in the figure to kind of allow this action feature. And what we've seen from in-hand photos of this figure is that it has a hard time sort of like being in a neutral head straightforward pose because it always wants to kind of flail to one side. But we'll have to see the actual figure in hand before we pass any judgment. But yeah, in these official photos, you can see sort of how that thrashing mechanic works, where it's kind of lunging back and forth and rolling its whole body. But design-wise, it looks very much like Giganotosaurus in the film, at least, a toyified version of that. So that alone is enough reason to track it down, and the fact that it's going to scale with the rest of the figures. Of course, it has that DNA tab built into the figure, looks like on the tail. It also has a marbling effect that we've seen in some of the Mattel figures with this plastic sort of having different kind of waves of color inside of it, which just adds a little bit of grit and texture to the figure overall. But it looks like a pretty decently sized figure as well. And should scale nicely with the T-Rex we have in the line, as well as Indominus and all that. So anxious to get my hands on this one myself to do a review, since it is sort of one of the main feature figures from Dominion for the core line. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of huge figures, let's talk about Dreadnoughtus. First time I've covered it here on the channel in a video. Upcoming Legacy Collection release here in the US. Mattel's third massive sauropod figure and biggest to date. I think it's over 5 feet long. This thing is huge. This is Dreadnoughtus, as seen in the Jurassic World Dominion prologue opening, and I believe it'll be in the film as well in the Biosyn Sanctuary. We'll just have to wait and see. But Dreadnoughtus just looks absolutely massive and honestly very detailed too, with lots of articulation. I've loved the Mattel Brachiosaurus figure. The Apatosaurus one left a little bit to be desired, but still a pretty impressive toy. But Dreadnoughtus here from these photos, I have no complaints. I love the color. I love the sculpt. I think the head looks great. One of my major gripes with the Apatosaurus was the head, but it looks like this one has a little bit more film accurate design and also lots of cool articulation. You can see it's got two joints in the neck that allow it to articulate both at the base of the body and midpoint in the neck. And the thing is just absolutely massive and long. I mean, you can see in these little photos just how long of a figure it is. So living up to its name, Dreadnoughtus being a massive sauropod, this toy is going to be absolutely massive too. I don't know off the top of my head how long Apatosaurus and Brachiosaurus is, but I know this one is longer than both of those. So it's going to be a very impressive toy, and goes without saying it's going to be one that's very challenging to fit into the collection shelf for most of us, I'm sure. I mean, if you've already made room for Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, and a couple super colossal figures, getting this one on the shelf is not going to be easy. I know it isn't for me, but I will find a place for it because, again, it just looks fantastic, and excited to add an all-new species, all-new large figure from Mattel. And of course, we got to talk about the box art too, because it's just as gorgeous. I love this illustrated approach they've taken to some of these toy packaging, especially for the bigger figures. They did it for Brachiosaurus on their back, doing it with Dreadnoughtus. You have this beautiful kind of vista in the background with mountains and deciduous forest and kind of grazing Dreadnoughtus herd in the water. It looks awesome. So kudos to Mattel for coming up with another beautifully illustrated box. Let's go ahead and talk about the similar box that we have for Brachiosaurus coming out. The Dominion is getting another Mattel Brachiosaurus figure with repainted, which I'll cover here in a second because I think we've covered it before, but we haven't seen the box, and the box is similarly beautiful to the Dreadnoughtus box. Looks like it repurposes the Brachiosaurus artwork from the first release, but again sets it against this like kind of beautiful North American vista, which really looks nice and offers something a little bit different compared to the previous release. And of course, just a reminder of what that figure looks like, because it is a little bit different than the Brachiosaurus we've got. Has a basically just new paint application. The other one had very few paint details, and this one has a couple more layers. You can see the texture on the back, flecks of teal in the head. So same figure, but a lot more paint going on, I guess I should say. Last thing I want to talk about is really exciting, and that is our first proper large playset coming out for Jurassic World Dominion. I've covered the Battlegate playset, which is sort of derivative of this one, but this is sort of the main feature playset for Jurassic World Dominion. It looks awesome. Obviously, box art looks incredible, kind of showing all the different features of the figure. You can also get a peek at the included mercenary figure and the Pyroraptor figure that comes exclusive to this set. You won't be able to get that mercenary elsewhere, or this Pyroraptor, as far as I know. But the set itself has a ton of playability. Obviously, you have those gates, similar to the Battlegate playset, a couple different missile launching turrets, a capture cage, some sort of hatch that I can't quite figure out in the foreground. It must be something from the movie that once we see the film will click into place. It's got like a ladder on it. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. We also have this central observation tower. You can see the mercenary holding on for dear life, that has a toppling over feature with some sort of like button or door or cave at the bottom. You can see pretty clearly in this photo. Again, I'm guessing a lot of this will click into place once we see the film and sort of see the Biosyn Sanctuary that I think this playset is based on. But all I can say is I'm just so grateful that after 2018 not having too many playsets when Fallen Kingdom came out, we're finally getting at least one proper one for Fallen Kingdom, or sorry, for Dominion, with a kind of spin-off coming out for it. So awesome stuff from Mattel. Overall, yeah, I mean, just tons of new toys coming out. in the next couple months, and there's going to be even more coming out in the fall, so you'll have to wait for another video of toy reveals. But as you can see, between this video and part 1, there's still a lot to collect, which is just keeping us busy and obviously very exciting. We're just totally spoiled with toys, and I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be happier to share them all with you. So hope you enjoyed this video and hope you found it informative. Again, I'm Tim with Collect Jurassic. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.